Hello and welcome to the Perfect Gentleman podcast. It is episode 74. I'm James Marwood, and hopefully you'll have heard Zach and I talking previously in some of the earlier episodes, but this time it's just me. And I'm here to talk to you about the stylish gentleman. So really about some of my thoughts and ideas on how you can try and look your best, especially leading into the summer. If, like me, you're not especially well built for hot weather, looking stylish and looking your best in the hot days, and especially if you're out and about, can be a little bit of a challenge. So I have a few thoughts on how best to do that. And I think it really depends on how formal you need to be and on if you are going to be out for an extended period. So let's think about going to events. I've got two events really coming up this summer as we start to come out of lockdown. They're going to be later on in the summer, but one is relatively formal. I'm going to the races, and so I need to be quite formally dressed for that. And then the second one, I'm going to the polo, less formal, although still not exactly slub wear event, but relatively smart, but very much on the smart casual spectrum. Now, neither of those are events I would normally choose to go to. I'm doing it because of work and because I need to go and schmooze a little bit and try and impress people. So, for the formal event, I'm going to be wearing a suit, and that's really de rigueur for any sort of formal event in most of the world, certainly in the UK, Europe, US, places where probably most of you are. A summer suit is pretty much essential wear for that type of formal event. Same for a wedding, a formal garden party, anything like that. And so summer brings with it a few opportunities and a few things that make it a bit different. Your summer suit will be a little bit different to your traditional office suit. So first is colour, second is cloth, and third is construction. So if we think about the colours that are acceptable for a summer suit, they tend to be a little bit lighter and brighter. So that could be something like tan, and you'll probably remember all the hoo-ha about President Obama in his tan suit, which personally I thought looked great. I love a tan suit. It could be something like a lighter blue. So whereas navy or shades very close to navy would be the normal for a traditional blue office suit. You can go a little bit crazier than that, but most of us would wear a navy blue or a grey suit would be sort of standard office wear. You can go lighter and brighter with a summer suit. So that could be something like what's often called an Air Force blue or a French navy. So still quite dark, and you can definitely get away with those in the office, in a traditional office. But also you could look at things like sky blue, or like just slightly off that. I have a great lightweight, just slightly darker than sky blue suit that I wear for summer events quite often. In fact, it's probably what I'll wear to the races. And it's you can also play with mixtures of colours. So Zach, you'll have probably heard talk about his love for seersucker suits. That's a mixture of cotton and silk in stripes. It's very cool to wear because you've got the airiness of the airflow from the cotton, and you've got the natural cool feel of silk both together, and they can come in some great color combinations, either all one color or in a blue and white stripe, or sometimes a blue and red, or different color stripes. They're always a great option. Some also gives you the opportunity to play with checks and with stripes, in which you may not want to do in a traditional office suit. So having that sort of casual summer suit gives a lot more room to play with colour, which is Always a great opportunity. The second thing is the cloth, the actual material the suit is made from. Now, most suits that you buy will be in wool or some mixture of wool and something else. It might have some man-made fibers in there to give it stretch or to make it slightly more durable, or it might be have some silk or linen blended in. But generally, most suits that we wear in the office would be wool, and there'd be a kind of wool called worsted, which is that traditional, flat, relatively heavy, relatively dry suit cloth that you would get most of your suits. That you would go off a rack, or you would go to a tailor and buy. Most of what you would look at would be worsted. In summer, you can start to look at slightly different materials and slightly different cloth that you can wear, because it's less smooth, it's less formal, and so you're looking at cloths with a little bit of a texture to them. But also, because they often have an open weave, they're a bit airier and a bit more comfortable to wear on hot days. You get a bit more of a breeze through your clothes, which is what you want in summer, not in winter. And there you're looking at cloths like still wool, but you could look at things like fresco, which is a very open weave, very robust, a great travel suit. You could look at hopsack, which is a little bit heavier than fresco. It has a really nice crosshatch pattern to it, which is very appealing, and because of that, it's very resistant to creasing. So they make fantastic travel suits if you're either wearing them if you're on a flight or on a train for a long time, or if they're packed in a suitcase. You can lift them out. They look great just with a half an hour hanging on a hanger. So I've got a hopsack blazer that is sort of my standard flying uniform, if you like. It's just a little bit lighter than navy, so it can do double duty between the office and an evening. It's fine for a garden party with some chinos or some khakis, if you call them in the US. Great idea for a suit like that. I have a fresco suit in a dark tobacco brown, which is not something I'd wear to a traditional office. I would save that really for casual wear. But it's a really light and airy suit, so I can still wear suit, shirt, and jacket, or suit, trousers, shirt, and jacket on a warm day, and it's absolutely fine. So long as I'm not standing in direct sunlight all day, I can get away and have got away with wearing that in sort of high 30s, 40 degree weather. You also have linen, which is sort of the traditional summer suit. Linen's great, but it can be a little bit hard to keep it looking good, because linen creases naturally. A little bit of crease in linen is expected. That's what you should be looking for, really. But generally speaking, if you look at slightly heavier linens, they will still be very cool, but will crease less. They can be a little bit tricky to find off the rack, but if you look at places like some of the more traditional menswear outfitters, or if you look at places like, if you're in London, Surplus, SIRPLUS, often have things like that in. Surplus make things from surplus cloth. And you can sometimes find some really interesting heavyweight linens, or heavier linens. And then also you have silk or silk blends. Now, silk by itself is not really hard wearing enough to be made into a suit. Certainly not for trousers, and not for a jacket that's going to see anything like regular wear. But a wool suit jacket with 5 or 10% silk in can be a great choice. I've got a jacket that I bought probably now 8-9 years ago, that I wear quite regularly in the summer. It's a wool silk with a little bit of linen in as it's a blend. And the thing I like about it is that it's so robust to creasing. So I can wear that on a plane or in a train, or I can be sat. Say if I'm in an office, I can be sat wearing that in the office, and then I get up, go out for the evening and it still looks great. It doesn't look creased or crumpled. It's light and it's breathable. And part of that comes on to the third factor, which is construction. So if you've ever really felt a suit, suits are made up generally of three main layers. So you have your outer layer, so what would be your worsted wool in a traditional suit, and you have your lining, which would be something like silk or a synthetic, and actually synthetic is usually better because it hangs better. And then in between there, you will have some form of interlining. So that could be a synthetic material, it could be horsehair in some cases, it could be some mixture of the two. In a machine-made suit, usually that will be a fused lining where it will be glued to the main body of the suit or to the outer layer, and that can be good, it can be bad. It's hard to do very well, but when it's done very well, it's excellent. So if you look at something like a Palzolari suit, a lot of those have fused linings, and they are fantastic quality. But also very cheap suits will be done; it'll just not be done very well. If you're having a suit made by hand, a traditionally constructed suit, it will generally have a free-floating interlining, which is usually better because it allows it to be 3D effectively. It allows the garment to be constructed to give your body the right shape rather than just being flat. And that's what gives, for example, the wonderful curve that you'll see in a really well-made suit jacket that really accentuates that ideal male physique of a broad waist and of a broad shoulders and a narrow waist. But all of that construction in a traditional suit adds weight, and it stops airflow. It makes them warmer. Great in the winter, not so good in the summer. And so that's where part-lined or deconstructed suits can be really useful. So I have a jacket that I wear quite often, not on the hottest days, but I can wear it up, on quite hot days up to sort of 30 degrees pretty much, which is, it's quite a thick tweed, but it's not a traditional, very scratchy, very heavy Harris style tweed. It's a Lowland tweed that's got a mixture of different wools in. It's got quite a wide weave, but it has no lining. The internal construction is just a few ribbons, effectively, that are there to hold the jacket in place with very minimal shoulder pads. And that type of construction, that deconstructed or sometimes part lined, where only the top part of the jacket is lined, really takes away a lot of the weight and the heat. So if you're looking for a summer suit or a summer jacket, give something like that a try. Sometimes it'll be referred to as an Italian construction, because those types of jackets are more popular in Italy, it being a hotter country. But do check that it works for you, because they do have to be constructed very well to work for those of us with big broad shoulders or sloping shoulders, or those of us who don't have that naturally broad chest and narrow waist. If you're like me and your torso is basically a big oblong, then you have to be careful on the ones that will fit you, and they have to be cut very well. But you can find them, and you can do that just having a look around. I've had really good success with Palzolari that I mentioned earlier, although they're quite expensive. Brooks Brothers are a great brand for that type of deconstructed jacket, especially some of their sort of temporary summer cuts. You'll often find some really great examples. And I've also had surprisingly quite good results from Marks and Spencer's. Very reasonably priced, sort of British retailer. And with a little bit of alteration, getting the sleeves right, getting the cutaway, that is the angle at the front bottom where the front of the suit shades into the bottom, getting those adjusted, potentially getting the waist nipped a little bit, they can all make a big difference in that case. So if you're looking for a summer suit and you want something which is going to look stylish, something you enjoy wearing, that you're going to be able to wear on relatively hot days without feeling too uncomfortable, then I would advise look at those three factors. Look at the colour, look at the material it's made of, the cloth, and look at the construction. Those three C's together will give you a good basis to choose a suit that you're going to enjoy wearing, look good in, feel your best, and feel you're more stylish. You've got to be relaxed to be stylish, so being comfortable is a really important part of that. The final factor for that is to consider some what you wear under the suit, which is really the shirt you're going to wear and whether or not you're going to wear a tie. So the events I mentioned that I'm going to, when I'm going to the races, I'm almost certainly going to wear a tie. It will probably be shantung silk, which is a kind of slubby silk that has little bubbles in it, so it's not smooth like a traditional office tie would be. It's got a little bit more texture and therefore less formal. Probably in a summery colour, a yellow or potentially an orange, something like that, that works well with my colouring. The shirt will almost certainly be linen. I tend not to wear white because I have quite ruddy skin and well, it used to be red hair, it's now shading more towards brown, but a white shirt I find washes me out. But if you're lucky enough to have either very high or very low contrast between your skin tone and your hair, a white shirt can look great. So if you've got very dark skin and very dark hair, a white shirt can look absolutely fantastic, as can pretty much any other colour. If you have very pale skin and very dark hair, for example, a white shirt can also be very dramatic in that case. Where the contrast between the two is not as strong, generally speaking, white is a bit too stark, but something like an off-white, like an ecru or an ivory, that's great. That's not what I normally go for. So that's likely what I'll end up wearing is probably a lightish blue suit, probably a slightly off-white shirt and a yellow tie, and probably a slightly off-white pocket square to match the shirt, maybe with a little bit of yellow in to bring out something from the tie or some blue to bring out from the suit. For less formal events, where you don't need to be quite as smart, I would drop the tie. You could, as I often do, and as Zach does, and as we tend to do on Fridays with Cravat Fridays, is wear a cravat, which is a great alternative to a tie and slightly less formal. But they are a little bit unusual, and so not everyone would choose to do that. In which case, I would suggest you wear your collar open. But I do want to give one word of advice for those of you who wear your collars open, as I probably will be when I go to the polo, is unless your shirt has a particularly stiff collar, it will have a tendency to get crushed or to fall beneath the collar of your jacket. And that looks sloppy and messy, and it really robs your shirt collar of the job it's supposed to do, which is to help frame your face. And so I would suggest two things. Either make sure that you have a shirt with a particularly robust, potentially slightly higher than normal collar, but they can be tricky to get off the rack. I find that companies like Hawes & Curtis generally do pretty well at that. The advantage that a lot of those types of shirts, so a lot of the shirt shop type shirts, so Hawes & Curtis, for example, they will have collar stays. And so those are the little plastic tabs that sit inside pockets on the very front of the collar that help you keep the collar upright and in place. They're a really good idea. Often the plastic ones they'll not survive if you forget to take them out, and they end up getting laundered, or they'll wear down over time, probably before the shirt does. So I tend to use metal ones, and you can buy very thin, lightweight metal collar stays or collar stiffeners in a lot of menswear stores. I've got some I bought from Brooks Brothers that cost me about £5. You get dozens of them in a little tub with different lengths to suit different shirts. Really worth the investment. So I would definitely recommend that. And also, if you're going to be wearing your shirt unbuttoned under a jacket, and you're concerned that the collar might not stand up to it, I would strongly recommend spray starch when you launder your shirt. It's really easy to do. You don't need to starch the whole shirt. I would recommend you build up to it over time. So don't put huge amounts on, because a stiff collar can slightly irritate the neck. But just a couple of passes of spray starch on the inside of the collar as you're ironing it. So in the piece that will be covered over when you on the inside when you fold your collar over as you wear it, that will really help your collar to stay upright. And that is something I can definitely recommend. Give that a go, and your shirt will look so much better, even if you're wearing it without a tie. It will help that frame of the face. So there you go. Some thoughts from me on summer style and how to look good during the summer. I'd be really interested in hearing your thoughts on it, what you end up doing, especially if you've got photographs to share. Find us on social media, the P Gentlemen on most platforms. You'll see it linked in wherever you pick up this podcast. And hope to speak to you soon. All the best. Goodbye.